Hello folks, Bill Vales here. This month we are going to talk about the Internet of Things. As you have probably noticed, the world we live in has been getting increasingly technical and seemingly more complex. Our use of computers, tablets, and cell phones for a variety of activities is growing. We rely on these devices to help us perform everyday functions such as email, photography, banking, purchasing products, GPS navigation, and numerous other applications. In addition to our computers, we make use of devices that are computer controlled to make our life easier. For example, automobiles, surveillance cameras, thermostats, house locks, alarm systems, smart TVs, baby monitors, children's toys, household appliances are just a few of the devices we use that have computers built into them. These systems make use of the internet services we already have on our cell phones and at our homes. All of these devices and the interconnectivity between these devices is known as the Internet of Things, or IoT. The Internet of Things is a phrase used to describe a network of various devices, computers, cell phones, tablets, sensors, and numerous other devices to collect and exchange data. In addition to the devices mentioned, there are numerous other systems that our personal devices connect to that allow us to exchange information. Our medical records, financial information, Social Security information, school and work records are some of the information that we have access to on our personal devices. At any point in time, important personal information may be on numerous devices in the form of documents, email, or spreadsheets. This increasing connectivity of devices provides numerous conveniences for us. It allows us to access data from wherever we are, whenever we want it. This convenience does, however, come with increased risks. The increased risks can be attributed to a few areas. One area is the increased risks are a result of manufacturers not performing adequate testing of their products from a security perspective. After all, a manufacturer of a remote thermostat or a smart TV or household appliance does not have computer security as one of the core competencies of their business. Now, you could argue that they should, but the reality is they often don't. A second reason that the risk factor increases is that the rush to market always shortens the time for testing and quality assurance. Therefore, with less testing, the result are more bugs, which means more vulnerabilities, which means higher risk exposure. And then finally, another risk is the lack of the user, that's us, taking adequate steps to secure our devices and our data. Let's consider a couple of convenience devices we have around our house as examples. The programmable and remote access thermostat allows access to the heating and air conditioning systems of our home when we are away. Now, this convenience is provided because the thermostat connects to a router that we have access to via our cell phone or laptop. Now, another device is your baby monitor and home security system and cameras are accessible to us from anywhere through an application on our cell phone or laptop. This convenience is also supported because this equipment connects to a router that we have access to. Another example is our smart TV. It allows us to stream shows from various sources such as Netflix, Hulu, or Amazon. This streaming is also supported through our router. Now, the common thread of access here is the router. Now, I have here with me a typical router. This is an old Verizon router that I have, and I'm sure most of you have a Verizon router at home or a Comcast router, depending on who your internet service provider is. Now, all of these devices and many more provide conveniences and access to information that makes our lives easier. However, in all these cases, you need to ask yourself, who else can access these devices? Who else has access to my programmable thermostat? Who else can access my baby monitor or security system? Who else can access my smart TV? With all these devices, you also need to ask yourself, how secure are these devices? Well, the answer is that many of these devices are not as secure as you may think, and certainly not as secure as you would like. With an increase in devices, there is an increase in the number of vulnerabilities that expose our data. This increase in paths to our systems and our data is referred to as increasing the attack surface. Now, the attack surface of a computing environment, this is a technical definition, is the sum of the different points, also known as the attack vectors, where an unauthorized user, or the attacker, can try to access systems or extract data from an environment. By increasing the number of interconnected devices that we have, we increase the attack surface of all of our systems. This means we have increased the risk to our systems in the data stored on these systems. Unless these new attack vectors are secured, we have increased the vulnerability or attack surface of all of our systems. The access to the internet and the various devices we place in our environment is accomplished by using a router. Just as your computer, laptop, or tablet makes use of the router to connect to the internet, so do these new devices that comprise the Internet of Things. Now, again, I'll show you the router, and we all have these in our house. Okay, this is a typical Verizon router, and you have either a Verizon or Comcast router. And we also have a slide to show you some typical routers. All of the devices that access the internet in your environment are connected to this router. The router is a central hub that provides connection between a device and the internet. Further, the router provides access to every device connected to it. This means by accessing your router, an attacker can potentially access any device connected to the router. Securing your router is more important than ever. To further complicate things, various unsecured devices from the Internet of Things can also provide a pathway or attack vector to your router. This means something mundane as a remote thermostat, Netflix box, or baby monitoring camera could provide an attacker an unsecured path to your router. This in turn exposes other devices that connect to your router. Understanding how to secure your router is more important than ever. Hackers are targeting routers every day since the router represents a hub to all of your devices. Remember, your personal information and privacy is very valuable. The larger the attack surface, the more access points you have provided for attackers to steal your valuable information and to violate your privacy. Before you decide to increase the amount of technology in your life, you need to consider how much you are increasing the exposure to the devices and data that are currently in your computing environment. Knowing how to secure your router is increasingly important. Knowing how to secure any new device you introduce into your environment is equally important. In future shows, we will talk about some of the specific vulnerabilities with your router and some of the steps you can take to secure it. We will also discuss some of the vulnerabilities with certain devices that make up the Internet of Things. And believe me, there is much vulnerability and much risk exposure. This is not hyperbole. With every device you place in your home or computing environment, you need to understand the increase in your attack surface and how that increases your exposure to risk. No one is immune from hacking. No one. That's it for this Tech Talk. Practice, 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 and we'll see you next month.